All right, so I'm driving to pick up my son. I thought this might be a good opportunity to record some of the thoughts I had during my run today. So this isn't going to be entertainment or pop culture related, really. Just advice for beginner runners. Yeah. So this happens a lot. Now, when I'm out running, especially on a long run on Sunday, I do a lot of thinking and a lot of organizing in my brain while I'm running. A lot of stuff happens, and a lot of creative thoughts come out as well. And that's where I get a lot of the ideas for my other kind of more entertainment, pop culture related podcasts, like ideas of what to do, what to say, how I want to say things, stuff like that. But I also have a lot of thoughts when it comes to fitness, naturally, when I'm out there participating in fitness. And something I decided while I was running today is, like, I want to get these thoughts down because I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, and I always forget. So I'm going to make sure I do it today. But I just wanted to talk about a couple of mistakes that I think beginner runners make, and I am one of them. I'm one of those people who makes the mistakes. I actually made one of the mistakes today, and that's what made me think to do this. So, especially with longer distance running, anything over like a sprint. So if you're doing a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, or a marathon, something like that, it is important as hell to follow your training plan, and not get caught up in the run that you're in, because you will actually do detriment to your overall fitness in preparing for whatever you're preparing for. So if the training plan calls for like an easy run, make sure you run that thing easy. Don't try to set any records. Don't try to set any PRs. Slow it down. These easy runs are supposed to be like slower than your normal runs. It's supposed to be super easy, chill, and for a long distance. Like, you shouldn't be breathing super heavy. You should be able to have a conversation. You should be able to talk in a full paragraph, not just like a couple words. If you are running with someone at whatever pace you're running at, you should be able to carry on a conversation. That's how easy you should be running. Like, seriously, just slightly faster than a jog or a fast walk, okay? And today, and this happens to me a lot, and this is one of my biggest things that I continue to try to work on, is you get a few miles in or whatever, and then you realize at the pace you're at, like, maybe you're a little faster than the pace, which you shouldn't be, but maybe you're a little faster than the pace you're supposed to be running. And you do that consistently for, 4 or 5 miles or something like that. And then you see that, like, hey, if you see what your time is and what you're getting close to, and you're like, hey, if I just bump up my speed for the next couple miles, just really hammer it, I could probably set a new PR for a 10K or whatever it might be, 5K, whatever. Don't do that. I tried to do it today, and I was way off anyway, because in my head, I thought I had a slower 10K than I did. And so I thought, like, oh, I'm really close to this PR. I'm going to hammer this last mile and a half and just try to get a PR while I'm here. No. I was like 10, 15 minutes off. It wasn't even close. I don't know what I was thinking. But this happens to a lot of people. They run faster or harder than they're supposed to in their training plan, and they end up... It doesn't build your endurance in the same way as running slow and long, and in that zone 2 does. That builds endurance. Those are the most important runs, I think, when it comes to endurance. And I'm no professional or anything like that, but just from what I've heard from professionals, what I've heard from people in the know, people who do set records, people who are really good and really versed in this stuff, and then with my own experience with coming out of the gate too fast a lot of times, I realized you get that heart rate lower consistently with these long base runs, these long, slow runs. And then even, the base runs where you're running, 3 to 5 miles, but it says to run it at a slower pace. Do it. Don't run too fast. Don't run too fast. If it says slow, go slow. So yeah, even against my own advice, and this is why I'm talking about it today, against my own advice, I did it today. Didn't even come close to the PR. So basically, I just wasted what essentially was a very good endurance base building run by pushing it too hard for the last couple miles to try to, I don't know, appease my ego. Like, who cares if I did PR by 10K? It's shitty anyway. What am I doing? Anyway, yeah, slow the fuck down. If you're training for any kind of endurance race, most of your runs should be slow as fuck. They should not be fast or anywhere near your race pace. Okay, number 2, and this might be the last one. Number 2, don't neglect hydration. This was one of my biggest faults early on, and I do not make this mistake anymore. It's just not knowing what proper hydration was. When I first started running, I just thought like you're supposed to drink water, right? Yeah. No, water is not hydration. Water alone is not hydration. You need a full electrolyte profile. Your body needs these electrolytes on a regular basis to run properly, especially to run efficiently and strongly, right? If you're trying to perform at your absolute best and you are any bit dehydrated, nope, don't count on it. It's not going to happen that day. Hydration, real hydration is key, and that means salts, man. You can't just have water. Along with the water comes sodium, magnesium, and potassium. You need these things. Do not just drink plain water. You need to be adding some sort of if you are running on a regular basis, and endurance running, especially if you're running more than 5 miles at any time, you really need to have an electrolyte drink. Don't just take a bottle of water with you. Go buy some Noon tablets. That's N-U-U-N. That's one of the best ones I've found. They're just these little dissolvable tablets. You put them in a bottle of water, they dissolve and give you all the electrolytes you need. Obviously the longer you run, the more of these you might need. But if you get a good 16 to 20 ounces of water and you put one Noon tablet in there, that's going to fuel you fine for a 3 to 5 mile run. I would say every 30 minutes or so of running, you should be drinking some electrolytes. Just keep it going. Keep it going. When you're doing endurance stuff, don't neglect it. Don't get like, oh, I'm in the zone, I don't want to take a drink right this second. No, if you have it planned to consume a certain amount of electrolytes per half hour, per hour, whatever it is in your plan, and by the way, make a plan for nutrition like this, right? Whether it be foods you're going to eat during a race, a long run or whatever, the hydration, all of it. Make a plan. Your pace, everything. It's just as important as your pace that you run, that you have to stay at to get the time you want in the race. So do not neglect hydration. This is like the biggest thing in any endurance sport that I think beginners like myself overlook. So hydration is key. And then, while saying that, I thought of one last thing. So we'll make it 3 things for beginners. If you are training for a race of any sort, even if you're not trying to place in this race or win the race or whatever, if you're going a certain distance, even if it's just for you, like the marathon that I run every year is just for me. It's not an official race. I do it by myself, and I time myself, and I run the distance. But anytime you sign up for a race or decide to do a race or run a certain distance for a certain amount of time, practice taking in the fuel you're going to be taking in on race day. Because the last thing in the world you want is to be doing something brand new to your body when it needs to perform at its best. It's going to have you stopping to take a shit in the middle of the race. It's going to have you, pissing your pants. It's going to have you cramping up. All manner of different physical ailments and probably mental ailments as well when you're doing something new. So whatever you use, if you use those little goos that supply electrolytes and caffeine, whatever, if you eat jelly beans for your carbohydrate fuel during your run. If you bring along little snack bars, whatever it is, make sure you do that in your training. Whenever you're doing your long runs, practice taking in that nutrition as you do it and stick to that on race day, whatever works for you, because you might find along the way that whatever it is doesn't agree with you, or maybe it does agree with you, but not if you're at a certain mile of running. So maybe from 0 to 5 miles, you're cool with, eating this meal beforehand or snacking on this during the race, or 10 miles even. But something that's good for you for 10 miles might not be good at the 15 to 20 mile mark. So absolutely practice this stuff. That should be part of your training, is training and practicing to find out which foods and fuels work best for your body, how much sodium, magnesium, potassium you need to be taking in per hour for your body, because everyone is different. So don't think because this elite runner eats bananas during his run that you're going to be able to do that. Try it for yourself. It's trial and error. It really is. See what the body can handle while it's running. So, number 1, slow the fuck down. Number 2, fucking hydrate. Number 3, practice. Practice your nutrition plan every week on your long run. Make sure you're practicing that. There was no fuck in that last one. I'm sorry. It was inconsistent. Yeah, that's it. So, all right. I know this is not my typical, but hey, this channel is not typical. I know I talk a lot about entertainment and pop culture. That's mostly what I do, but every once in a while I sprinkle in some of this other stuff that I'm interested in as well. So if you're interested in any of that, please subscribe to the channel, like this video if you found it useful, share it with people who might find it helpful or useful, beginner runners, anybody who's just getting into endurance sport in any way. Yeah, and if you decide to subscribe and stick around and check out all of my other videos, then I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.